We live inside a carefully constructed illusion. Every day, we walk into a coffee shop, tap a plastic card or a glowing smartphone against a terminal, and walk out with a latte. We instinctively think of this moment as a private exchange. I give money, you give coffee, and the transaction disappears into the past. It feels personal. It feels invisible. We assume that how we spend our money is nobody's business but our own. As long as we're not buying weapons-grade uranium or hiring a hitman, surely the government doesn't care. That belief is a fossil from another age. It's a hangover from the era of physical cash. In today's financial system, your coffee purchase didn't evaporate. It was logged, categorized, time-stamped, geolocated, and stored indefinitely in a database. A database that federal agencies can access without knocking on your door, and in many cases, without a warrant. You are not a free citizen engaging in a private marketplace. You are a data point inside the largest financial surveillance network ever built. The official story, the one repeated endlessly by politicians and media, is that this system exists for safety. We're told financial privacy must be sacrificed to stop terrorists, drug traffickers, and money launderers. We're told that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. But when you examine the actual history of financial surveillance, a different picture emerges. The definition of criminal has quietly expanded from cartel bosses to ordinary people. The net has been cast so wide that it catches the innocent by design. This system was never about finding a needle in a haystack. It was about owning the entire haystack. To understand how we reached this point, we have to go back to 1970. Before that year, banking in America was largely private. Your bank worked for you. It guarded your information. It kept your secrets. That changed when Congress passed the Bank Secrecy Act. With a single law, every bank in the country was effectively turned into an intelligence-gathering arm of the U.S. Treasury. At the time, the system seemed reasonable. The law required banks to report cash transactions over $10,000. In 1970, that was an enormous amount of money. It could buy multiple new cars. It could serve as a down payment on a mansion. It truly represented the scale of organized crime. But here's the quiet trick. The government never adjusted that $10,000 threshold for inflation, not once. As decades passed and the dollar lost value, the surveillance net lowered itself automatically. Today, $10,000 is not kingpin money. It's a used Honda Civic. It's a small business payroll. It's a contractor buying materials for a renovation. By simply allowing inflation to do its work, the government didn't need new laws to monitor regular people. They just waited. Now, a grandmother withdrawing cash for her grandchildren is flagged in the same system as international drug traffickers. But the reporting requirement was only the beginning. The true weaponization of the banking system came with something far more disturbing: structuring. This is one of the most dangerous crimes you've probably never heard of. Imagine you sell a used boat for $12,000 in cash. The sale is legal, the money is legal, you plan to pay your taxes. But you know that depositing $12,000 at once triggers a government report. You value your privacy, so you decide to deposit $6,000 today and $6,000 tomorrow. Congratulations, you have just committed a federal felony. This crime is called structuring. It is not about illegal money. It is about intent, the intent to avoid surveillance. Because you acted as if your finances were private, the government can seize all of your money and potentially send you to prison for years. This exposes the true philosophy of the system. Privacy itself is treated as suspicious. The desire to be unobserved is considered evidence of guilt. After 9/11, this philosophy went into overdrive. The USA Patriot Act introduced Know Your Customer laws, or KYC. If you've ever opened a bank account, a crypto exchange account, or even a PayPal account and been asked to upload your ID, a selfie, and a utility bill, you've experienced KYC. We accept this as normal security now, but historically it was revolutionary. For thousands of years, money was a bearer instrument. If you held it, you owned it. You didn't need permission, you didn't need identification. KYC transformed money into an identity system. Every dollar became permanently tethered to your legal identity. Your money stopped being something you owned and became something you were allowed to use. Once identity was attached to money, suspicion followed. This is where suspicious activity reports come in. Unlike the $10,000 rule, which is objective, these reports are subjective. Bank employees are trained to report anything that feels off: nervous behavior, unusual withdrawals, transactions without a clear business purpose. Most reports involve completely innocent people, but once one is filed, you enter a system you cannot see and cannot challenge. This is the modern panopticon. You never know if you've been flagged, so you begin to self-censor. You avoid cash. You avoid jokes in payment memos. You shape your economic behavior around what you think the system wants. Terrorists and criminals already know how to bypass banks. This system captures the compliant, the law-abiding, and the fearful. And now the war on cash has begun. Governments claim cash is dirty or inefficient. The truth is simpler. Cash is peer-to-peer. No intermediary, no server, no data trail. It is the last remaining pocket of financial privacy. That is why high-denomination bills are disappearing and cash payment limits are being imposed worldwide. When money becomes fully digital, every transaction becomes visible, and visibility is power.
Governments justify this expanding visibility with one word: taxes. The United States is running massive deficits, and officials believe trillions of dollars are slipping through the cracks. They call it the tax gap. Their solution is not efficiency or reform, but surveillance. This is why reporting rules for payment apps were lowered to $600. If you sell a used couch online, your transaction is now automatically reported. The system is no longer aimed at corporations or cartels. It's aimed squarely at the lower middle class. But surveillance is passive. Watching alone isn't the real danger. The real danger begins when the data is used to act. We have crossed a line from monitoring into punishment, from observation into exclusion. This is the era of debanking. Your transaction history isn't sitting quietly in a server farm. It's being fed into algorithms that decide whether you're allowed to participate in the economy at all. The money in your account is no longer purely yours, it is conditional. This weapon was first openly tested through a Department of Justice program launched in 2013 called Operation Chokepoint. Officially, it targeted fraud. In practice, it quietly pressured banks to cut off legal industries deemed undesirable: firearms dealers, payday lenders, coin shops. The government didn't ban these businesses. It simply warned banks that serving them carried reputational risk. The message was clear: keep these clients, and we will audit you relentlessly. Banks complied. Accounts were closed en masse. Entire industries were financially suffocated without a single law being passed. Congress was bypassed. The Constitution was avoided. Censorship was privatized. Though Operation Chokepoint was officially ended, the machinery remained. It evolved into ESG scoring. Environmental, social, and governance metrics now determine who is worthy of banking services. A company can be profitable, legal, and compliant, yet still be labeled unbankable for having the wrong politics or operating in the wrong sector. If the government silences you directly, you can sue. If a bank quietly terminates your account, you have no recourse. It's a private decision, a terms of service issue. This is power without accountability. We saw how far this power could go in 2022. During the Canadian trucker protests, the government invoked emergency powers and ordered banks to freeze accounts linked to the protest. No trials, no warrants, no due process. Even small donors found themselves locked out of their own money. They couldn't buy food. They couldn't pay rent. Their digital existence was suspended. This wasn't happening in a dictatorship. It happened in a G7 democracy. Then came the Nigel Farage case in the UK. His bank closed his accounts. When he demanded answers, internal documents revealed the truth. The issue wasn't money, it was ideology. His political views were deemed incompatible with the bank's values. A reputational risk committee decided he no longer deserved access to basic financial services. This is a social credit system without the branding. It operates quietly, behind closed doors, enforced by algorithms and compliance departments. Once labeled high risk, you are effectively exiled from the economy. This is why governments track everything, not just to tax you, but to profile you, to map your beliefs, to predict your behavior, and ultimately to control it. Cash prevents this. Cash doesn't care what you believe. That's why it must go.
A fully cashless society enables something far more powerful than surveillance or debanking. It enables programmable money. This is the end game. Central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, are not just digital dollars. They are software, and software can be controlled. Unlike money in your bank account, which is a liability of a private institution, a CBDC is a direct liability of the central bank. That means no buffer, no friction. The state has direct access. Balances can be frozen, altered, or erased instantly. But seizure is only the surface. Programmability is the real threat. A CBDC can be coded with rules, conditions, expiration dates, a stimulus payment that disappears if not spent quickly, negative interest rates that punish saving, carbon limits that restrict what you're allowed to buy, geographic boundaries that determine where your money works. Your wallet becomes a behavioral control device. This is not theoretical. China's digital yuan is already integrated with its social credit system. Nigeria attempted to force adoption through cash restrictions and faced mass resistance. In the West, the strategy will be softer. They'll sell CBDCs as inclusion, as fairness, as a solution for the unbanked. The bait will be crisis, a recession, automation, another pandemic. Download the app, they'll say. Help is on the way. And when people are desperate, they will comply. Once adoption is widespread, cash fades away. Private accounts become irrelevant, and control becomes absolute. This is why every transaction must be tracked, not for safety, not for taxes, but to feed the data-hungry machine of centralized control, a system that doesn't just punish bad behavior, but prevents it entirely. History shows us this power isn't new. In 1933, the U.S. government seized gold from its citizens, not with code, but with force. Executive Order 6102 criminalized private gold ownership overnight. Wealth was taken, dissent was silenced. The tools are more elegant now. The intent is the same. The battle for freedom in the 21st century won't be fought with guns. It will be fought in payment rails, databases, and algorithms. The right to transact privately is the right to exist independently. Lose that, and everything else follows. Use cash while you still can. Value privacy over convenience, because once money can say no, freedom disappears.